Hi, this is Paranormal Encounters, and I'm Brenda McGee, your host. Today I have a special guest. Her name is Joy Gaffney, and I'm very excited for her to be here. Welcome, Joy. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, thank you, Brenda. It's a pleasure to be here. Yes, I have a lot of experience with the paranormal. It actually started with a little bit of my beginning of my spiritual journey with becoming a healer and practicing the way of the shaman. And one thing led to the other with different experiences with spirit. But as time went on and my experiences started to really, show me that there's more out there than just, who we are in the physical. And I had some really, really amazing things happen to me along the way. So there's a group of us that started a paranormal group called the Spirit Light Network. And the group actually started out of Massachusetts and now is the head of not only at Massachusetts but in Mason, New Hampshire. The co-founder of the Spirit Light Network is out of Mason, New Hampshire. Oh. And anyway, so this is kind of what led us on our journey because we were all kind of a team together. And so what happened, I eventually, after having a lot of experiences in the paranormal with this group out of New Hampshire and Massachusetts, I basically started my own group here in Connecticut now. So
great.
Yeah.
Now, I know you do different modalities and things like that. Mm-hmm. Can you tell me a little bit about yourself? Because I just don't want everyone to think that that's all you do is paranormal, because you are very gifted.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Let's see. I started off as a massage therapist about 16 years ago. And then I went into the way of the shaman. And I started practicing that about 14 years ago. And I study under Reverend Stephen Wilson out of Mason, New Hampshire. And that's how we started the paranormal. But with that, practicing the way of the shaman, it actually showed me a little bit more of my gifts. The gift is of an empath and feeling everybody and everything and the whole world around me. Yeah. And it showed me that I have the gift of sight and of hearing. So I became a psychic, or an intuitive, or a medium, and speaking with spirit, and a healer as well. So I trained under Reiki as Reiki master teacher, so I teach it as well. And one of my favorite things to do with people and in my work is to really help them on their way and on their path toward their own spiritual beliefs and their own way and find their way in their heart. So
that's amazing. And people, they don't realize that to work with spirit, it's just not it's not all about paranormal, and it is paranormal because paranormal means not normal. Mm-hmm. But it's, I like to come across and tell people, most paranormal teams, certain paranormal teams, we go in there and we're not just helping the people that are there in the home, we're helping spirit.
That's right.
So if you can tell us some of the experiences that you had or what you want to share with us today, would be great.
Sure. I have so many over the years of the Spirit Light Network, but one of my favorites that I led was a group that I pulled a team together to help these young couple out of eastern Massachusetts who basically couldn't really enjoy their home because they had so much interference and felt such a lower vibration in their home. And they had a little baby and they couldn't bring their baby into the baby's room because they would always get this feeling of dread every time they went into the room, and they couldn't understand why. So I had met this woman at a psychic fair, and she found out what I did as well for work, and she asked if I could come and help her son and our family. And I said, absolutely. So I pulled the team together and we went to their house, and I arrived a little early at the job just to kind of, check things out a little bit before the other team members arrived. And they were all coming from a different part of Massachusetts, which was really cool. Yeah. So everybody kind of pulled together to come here and work as a team. But you know how that is, being head of your group. We all have to work as a team.
That's right. It's
yeah,
important.
so each of us kind of have their own job to do, like you were explaining to me before. Well, mine was to kind of get an idea of what kind of activity was going on in the house. So I kind of took a walk around, and as I was standing there, the guy was about early 30s, I think, a Marine, and he was just got out of the service. And he was talking to me in the kitchen, and he was sensitive, and I could feel that he was sensitive because I can feel his energy and what was going on with him, and how open he was, like an empath, right? So I'm standing in the kitchen, and all of a sudden I got this sensation of being choked by a spirit in his kitchen, and I'm like, and I could feel the hands around my neck. So I said to him, I says, as I'm standing right here, I can feel someone's got their hands around my neck. He goes, I know. Every time I come into this kitchen, someone's got their hands wrapped around my neck. Wow. And he was like, wow. He says, that's really cool, because I was able to, validate what he had been experiencing all along in his home, in his own kitchen. Right. And so I didn't get afraid. I wasn't afraid, and I just kind of stood there with this energy of love, or should we say kept my energy up. Let's just take love out of the picture and just put it as I kept my energy up as high as I could. Right. And what I found happened during this experience was the more I kept my energy high at a higher level, the spirit was staying basically on top of me and squeezing my neck, and eventually he just kind of let go, and eventually he stepped away, and eventually he wasn't so angry anymore, and eventually he just kind of just stood there and didn't even understand what was going on. And I could feel the gradual change in his energy of the spirit. And the young man was just watching me and saying, well, how did you do that? And his experience was the same, that he could feel everything just started to lighten up, right. And I just had to teach him right from the beginning to understand that it's really just about the energy that we are, and that if you show no fear, and you know this, right, being in the same field, you show no fear and you just keep your heart chakra, that's what you reference the chakra, right. You keep your heart chakra open, and you put no judgment into the fact that he was choking you, right. Or that he was trying to hurt you or whatever. You don't put any fear or judgment into it. There's an energy that happens, and just like the universal law of energy can only be changed, it cannot be destroyed. Right. So when you have a lower vibrational energy coming up against a higher vibrational energy, if they're going to stay with you, it's going to change. Right. Until eventually they reach that space that you're at. Right. We hope. Yeah. So
yeah, because and that's what people don't understand, that of course it's scary when like if people didn't know, like I always tell them, just don't show that you're afraid. If you need to take a few minutes and go outside or whatever, and then compose yourself and come back in, just don't show fear, because that's what they thrive on. Right, right. And even in the investigations, I always make sure that everybody is on their game. That, are you feeling okay? Are you going through anything emotional? And if they say, yeah, I'm not, and then I'll say, okay, you need to sit back from this investigation.
That's true.
It's very important, and that's great that you were able to teach. Because that's what it's all about.
That's what our favorite thing to do in the group is, really educating the public, about spirit, and about the fact that just because some might call them a ghost, or might call them, different names, or find reference of being fearful about the word ghost or spirit, they really are just our grandfathers or our grandmothers, right. Or a relative that hasn't crossed, or somebody else's grandmother or grandfather or parent or child. Right. There's so many spirit walking the earth plane right now. I know it's quite overwhelming, and it's not something anybody really wants to hear, but it is the truth, and sometimes we have to educate people to understand, well, what are we dealing with, and how can we help, to be more of that light for the soul that hasn't had a chance to find their way home yet, is what I would call find their way home yet.
And I tell most of the people that I never use the word ghost. I always use spirit.
Me too. Me too.
Because, I think they do the ghost thing to be like scary or whatever, but I always say it's just spirit.
Yes.
It's not like with the sheet over the head, and because no ghost looks like that.
No.
No. Is there any other experiences you want to share with us?
Let's see. I've had so many. I've had an experience where I was warned ahead of time, being intuitive and hanging around a lot of very intuitive people, and my teacher and many others that know that what's going to happen. I remember being my first where I actually got jumped by spirit once in my life. And that was kind of cool because it was a real cool lesson for me.
Yeah.
Because when you get jumped by a spirit and you do have help from somebody else to help you through that, thank goodness, that was really kind of an interesting experience, because after that it's never happened again. And I mean jumped, so it's almost like possession in a way.
Right.
And I don't know that he was basically in my body, but he was so close to my body that it made me react from an anxiety perspective. I had anxiety,
right,
and there was nothing I could do to make it go away. And I remember just being in a parking lot outside. I don't even remember where, maybe Massachusetts somewhere. It was a group of us. Stephen was there, and a couple of my friends were there, and I basically had one thought, and the next thing I knew, he just got in, and I had no idea that he was there in the first place. So it's really kind of interesting how it can just come out of nowhere. And I just started breathing really heavy and having this anxiety attack that I've never actually experienced before. And one of my friends saw it and said, I think she needs help. Oh no, she's fine. He says, no, I think she needs help. So he came over, and being a shaman himself, or practicing shaman himself, and a leader of our group, we were to have these experiences so that when we went out on jobs, we knew how to handle this from an energy perspective.
Right.
So even though there was a lot of drama at the time, definitely, and that was really early on in my...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, earlier on, that he was able to get the spirit to get off of my energy field, but it took a little bit. Took a little bit of energy work himself to do that in order to, and so now since then I've been able to do that for others as well, if they were to have.
And I believe that's what makes us stronger. And if you can go through something like that and you still want to do it, you might be a paranormal investigator.
Yeah, might be.
But you know what I mean? It's that, and we've all had that experience. I used to tell people, sometimes I would get so unnerved that I'd say, you know what, I need to take a little bit of time off, and do something like that. But, I know it just makes us stronger.
Yeah. And I've gone out on jobs in different parts of Rhode Island as well, where we were right up, we were in a hotel room, a bunch of military men were getting jumped by spirit. And when I say jumped, I mean they were pinned down, and these big Marines, they couldn't move. So they were having these experiences that were just pinning them down, and they barely could just breathe. And so we got called in, and I brought a couple people with me. But while I was there, I knew the spirit was there that was doing all this chaos. But before I went, I noticed there was a prison next to the hotel. I always pay attention to my surroundings in any job that I go to, because those are the clues that we see, the clues of where this could have come from or whatever might have happened. But I knew while I was there that there was going to be someone on my team that was going to get jumped, and I knew this ahead of time. And I just kind of, waited, and it happened, and then I released the spirit from her that was causing the drama and the chaos, So it was cool. So I was able to help her too.
I too get the same things. Like, I know when a job is coming because of the dreams or the visions and stuff. But it's funny because the more that I have a person on our team, and he's new, but he's really good. But now he's starting to have the dreams, and he'll explain it, and I'll say, or I'll know something's coming. Something's coming.
Yeah.
So I love that we get kind of prepared because I've always asked my guides, angels, to please show me, what I need to see. And it's almost like it's a protection mode, so we know, okay, we can prevent this. So,
well, I think the team leader, being a leader needs to have a lot of experience ahead of time to help those that work as our team.
Right.
And to have these experiences so that they are prepared on this kind of a job. And I've been warned ahead of time there's going to be trickery in this job,
Right.
and I let them know, it's not going to be exactly what you think is going to unfold.
Right.
And our team members, probably like yours as well, are all very intuitive, not only empathic, and healers, but very gifted psychics and mediums. So when we come together, we don't really know what the details of the job. One person might, like the team leader, might know, but we don't tell the other team members what's going
Right.
on the job.
Right.
And so each of the investigators that come on the job, they have their own unique gifts, and they will pick up little pieces to the puzzle. And we pull them together, and we actually create a story, and then we talk, and it always connects to exactly what was going on in the home
Right.
for that person.
Right.
And I would be, or maybe whoever else was a team leader, a lead on the investigation, would know probably the job. And we've done so many, and so many that has also tied into history as well, where you
Right.
can actually, actually validate it from just looking it up and what had happened. Yeah.
Right, yeah, we always say, I don't want to know anything that's
Yeah,
going on.
exactly.
Let me go in there cold.
Yeah.
Because I don't want, to have the story already played out for me and,
Yeah.
things like that. But have you felt that it's been picking up a lot more?
I feel the spirit activity every day.
Yeah.
The work as a Spirit Light Network really isn't necessarily for us about
Yeah.
going out only on the job,
Right.
but by understanding who we are and understanding how this works, wherever we go and Spirit follows, or wherever we go and Spirit's there, we ourselves become that energy enough to help them in that moment. So I feel the spirit activity has ramped up, and I feel it all the time.
Yeah.
And I speak with, some of my team members pretty regularly, and we kind of, concur on that and talk about, the activity. I notice Halloween is really when it really...
When I say that,
Yeah.
and I'm like, I'm not trying to be gimmicky,
Yeah.
but that's when the veil is very, very thin.
It is.
I mean, it's thin now, but I've noticed that a lot of our cases that we've had recently are because these people are gifted. So
Yes.
I tell them, when you're sensitive or gifted, whatever you want to call yourself, you're like this beacon. That spirit can actually see this special light in you, and it's like they're drawn to you.
Yes, exactly.
So it's not like this person, like we have a case this weekend, and this person moves from place to place to place, and I'm like, it's not the place.
It's you.
So, and
Yeah.
the children, because he was gifted, now the children are experiencing things. So we're going in there to pretty much teach them,
Yes.
you have control of the situation. You can tell them,
It's so funny
it
because that's
is.
exactly what we do, Brenda.
Yeah.
It's exactly what we do. One of our very early on jobs was about the woman who we had a condo, and she would get their bed shaken at night, and she would be just terrorized by whatever spirit was around her, but they just really wanted her attention, and they actually knew her personally before they passed, and they were
Right.
just getting her attention, and she wanted nothing to do about it. I don't want to be like you people, and I know I'm telling a story that's been told before, but it is true, and and they are reluctant, and it ties into basically a book that Stephen Wilson wrote called The Reluctant Empath, which really will help those who don't know what to do with these kind of experiences, or don't want to feel spirit, or don't want to feel other people. They can actually read this book and find maybe a little bit of tools or
Right.
ideas to help them through that.
Right.
So anyway, I'm plugging that book in there right now.
No,
so.
that's
Yeah.
great.
Well, it's a very great book to for all the tools. And we also, the Spirit Light Network has a book that Betty and Steve wrote together as well. I'm saying Ghost and Shamanic Tales of True Hauntings is the name of the book. And it's all about, I'm in the book as well with, an old picture of me. Don't even look at the picture. No, but, there's, it's all about the stories and a few that maybe, people can, it has a little reference. Betty did a really good job about, at the end of each chapter, giving them a situation in which tied into maybe their situation that they can identify with and find help. Well, this is what I could do when this happens,
Right.
So it's a very helpful book. And, so it's very cool. That's about 12 chapters, really easy reading and fun reading, too.
Yeah.
So.
And, Joy, this is why I do this show and why I have different guests. It's to educate everybody out there that, you don't have to leave your home. You don't have to be afraid of this.
That's right.
That it can be worked out and tough. And I think that by doing this, that people are seeing, it's not like the shows on television.
No.
Like I say, we do not provoke.
No.
That should never even be allowed. And it's funny because I watched a show the other night, and I usually don't watch the shows, just certain ones, like The Haunting of. That's my favorite show.
Okay, I haven't seen it, but okay.
But I don't. The Ghost Hunter ones, they actually had one of them on, and he was actually talking about some of his experiences. And this was the first time that I looked at him in a different light, because he was actually saying he stopped provoking like he used to because of the repercussions in his life.
All right.
Because I always tell people, if you're, coming across as aggressive to the spirit and stuff like that, they're going to come across the same way.
Oh, yeah.
And if they can't get to you, you never know what's going to happen.
No.
So, don't provoke.
That was without any serious judgment against those kind of those shows. We would sit back and watch they have no idea what they're doing and what they're getting into. And we would just, what we're going to do, call them up and say, hey, you really shouldn't do that, because they're trying to elicit fear and bring in an audience. But, in the kind of work you do, and it's kind of neat that we are on the same page with all of it.
That's
so
right.
far. I like that. And we haven't even talked about that at that level. But, it's really important for people to really see that spirit really is the same as you and I, just out of body, out of the physical body.
And we can,
we can help them.
We can help them. And that's what teams should be doing, is not only helping the homeowners, but helping spirit. Because some of them want to cross, but they're afraid to because they don't know what's on the other side.
Exactly.
So, you do amazing work.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you want to share with us?
Well, I'm thinking, let's see. Let's see, if there was a job in Enfield that our group got called out to do, probably about 3 or 4 times, different people. And it was up by the mills up in Enfield, and it was a really dark job. And we actually stayed overnight at it and everything, to try and set up some equipment. And our team doesn't necessarily use a lot of equipment. We basically use our own empathic abilities and different abilities to get the story and to help spirit. But we had another team come in and set up all this really fancy equipment and so forth. It was really kind of cool. But the job was a very dark job. And I remember that when I say dark, I just mean a lot of negative things that happened there, and it seemed to perpetuate itself. So when one thing happened, then another thing, and different people who had lived in this home, and it was one big home, and they put it into a duplex, so it was 2 different homes at this point in time. And the owner would call so many different paranormal groups to come in and, hey, can you fix my house? Hey, it's really haunted. Can you fix my house? And so when we got brought out on this job, there was already a priest that had gotten called out on the job too, and he basically didn't want to touch it. And he walked up the stairs to a third floor. And whatever he felt, he just went like this, and he blessed his way back down the stairs and wanted nothing to do with it. And we can see why. And when we had gone there, there was a point at reference where Betty and I were walking around, and she and I looked at each other at the exact same moment and put a gun to her head. And she did the exact same thing, and we were like, oh yeah, somebody, took their own life, which is a shame. But there was, we found out a lot about that job, and it was many different levels to it too, and nothing really wanted to get fixed in that job.
Right.
So, and in that work that we had done. There was many different things besides hangings and suicides and various other things that made it so heavy.
Right.
But it was affecting the family that was there with they had twins, they had children. And it was affecting that family. And things would happen, and he would call us up again. It's still haunted. So we had... there's a lot more going on in that particular home, in that situation, than meets the eye. Right. So, yeah, that was cool. Interesting stuff.
That's sad when, they're still there because they feel like that's where they want to stay. And, families, if they can, it's the children that get affected by it. And I think that's what scares the parents, is when the child has to go through this because, they're so innocent. So... they're open to all of that. That and animals, of course, are most sensitive.
Oh, yeah.
So, is there anything else you want to say where we have some time left?
Sure. We're talking a little bit about the empath. And the empath is such a phenomena out there right now, where people are starting to really wake up to understanding that they're feeling everything and everyone. They can't go into crowds.
Right.
They feel uncomfortable around somebody who's angry because you're feeling everything they're feeling, or they're projecting at you. They can't, some people don't want to leave their home. They're being labeled. They label themselves,
Right.
different things that aren't necessarily real,
Right.
and they're taking meds.
Yeah.
And I guess I'd love to discuss maybe maybe if you found that to be a major issue amongst, the paranormal as well.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of it being very sensitive to energy, emotions, and they can't decipher if it's their emotions or somebody else's. So I get exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah. So I do a workshop, called the... Are you an empath? Do you feel the love that you are? And I do this because, just like Steve, when Steve wrote his book, The Reluctant Empath, I too wanted to kind of get that information out there. So, yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, we have to say goodbye for now.
Thank you.
I'd love to have you back on, and we can talk some more.
I'd love to.
If you'd like to get in touch with Joy or want to learn more, you can email me at paranormalencounterstv9@gmail.com. And thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.